Hello and welcome along to the Where's My KitBag Season 2 Episode 6, hosted to you by the three lovely media technicians of the Sixth Form College Farnborough, with myself, James.
Me, Will.
So I'm Steve.
And we have a special guest in the studio. Special guest, who are you?
Hello, I'm Ross Sarginson.
Hello, I'm Ross Sarginson. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here.
What do you do in this lovely establishment?
Well, I'm a personal tutor over in Pastoral and also a media studies and film studies teacher.
Excellent.
Wow. Variety of roles.
Hashtag busy.
Indeed. Far too busy.
And we are very happy to have you here, taking a bit of time out of your Wednesday afternoon to come and join us in this lovely studio.
Well, thank you very much, but hopefully not too much time as we've got The Apprentice on later.
We won't be here till 9, don't worry. The podcast is not 4 hours long.
Can we steal The Apprentice intro? Can we
you
5
should have had
seconds of that?
today.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are we allowed to do that?
Is it? Well,
5
because
seconds?
it's the original piece of operatic music, isn't it?
It is. It is a
Yeah.
piece of...
So,
Romeo and Juliet, isn't it? Or something like that.
Yeah.
They call it.
while Steve's talking about the department news, hashtag segue, I'll look up and see if I
I
can
just feel
use
like we
it.
could use that for so many things, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Before you jump into that, I have
Yes,
a question
Stephen.
I've asked every guest so far.
yes.
And I've remembered this time.
Yes, you bet
Okay.
you remembered before me.
So, Ross, a slight diversion to how this kind of tech-related podcast. I've asked every guest so far because we had about a 20-minute segment last season where we went off on a bit of a tangent. So I started to ask every guest this, and I've got mixed answers. So, Ross, what's your go-to meal deal?
My go-to meal deal.
Bear in mind that can be, so we asked for an establishment. I'm not going to say one just in case it alters your answer. What main you'd get, what snack, and your drink. However, a place like McDonald's wouldn't count because it doesn't count as a meal deal.
Okay, so we're talking about a dinner meal deal or a lunch meal deal?
Lunch meal.
Lunch
Yeah.
meal deal, my apologies.
Well, it used to be Boots because I liked my O2 buy one,
Yep.
for whatever. That's changed.
okay.
And actually, this is where I'm quite passionate. Tesco used to do a duck wrap meal deal, but
Ooh.
for those that know me, I don't really dig the cucumber. And they changed the recipe.
Oh.
And so since they put I no longer do Tesco meal deals. So I probably would say now it'd be more Sainsbury's.
Okay, and what would you get from Sainsbury's?
Again, they have limitations. They changed what they have in their meal deals, but it'd probably be a chickeny bacon sandwich. I do like I'm telling you a lot of information here. My sweet chai, what is it?
Chai latte.
No, I've got
wait.
with chai latte.
Obviously.
No, sweet chili crisps and
Oh, yeah.
probably a
Ooh.
bottle of water or something.
Very
like
nice, very nice.
Wow. You actually covered 2 of the places that we chose for our ones
Yeah.
in your choice.
that. And your choices are?
Just to quickly after that, Tesco for a deli chicken and bacon and sandwich. I keep changing my snacks every time. Usually it's some sort of spicy crisps, whatever I can find. And usually a Lucozade or a Dr. Pepper is my meal deal.
Dr. Pepper.
I'm the Boots guy.
Yeah.
Boots man. See, I can get double the price
You
of the
just-
meal
you
deal
can't
as
beat
a
the
deal.
You
You
just
can't,
can't beat the
you
deal. Yeah, wrap. One of those naked drinks.
I tried one this week.
Yeah, so
Tried
good.
one for the first time ever. Really good.
That alone doubles your meal deal
Really
value.
good.
Cha-ching. And then they do these little granola yogurt pot things. Oh, sucker. Yeah.
Mine was a Sainsbury's kind of like BLT-esque
so
sandwich.
you went through all 3?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Weird
normally
coincidence.
Sainsbury's
How
BLT
bizarre.
sandwich. Some kind of, either if there's like, the paprika Walker's Max, very good crisp, highly recommend. If that's not there, then some like kind of, McCoy's or similar. And then beverage, depends how I'm feeling. Maybe if there's an Apple Tango, all day Apple Tango, absolutely. But you don't really see it that often nowadays. I'm very disappointed.
Stock up before Brexit.
Exactly. I'm like, yeah, they've jumped ship already. I'm like, Apple Tango, no. But yeah, otherwise like a Coke or something. Go boring.
So is it the plan of this to make our listeners hungry? Because
I don't know really. I don't know how we ever
Well,
got
we were
onto it.
thinking about having in Top Gear how they kind of have a leaderboard
right.
of like the best meal deals, the best sort of thing.
okay,
So
yeah,
like maybe
yeah.
I don't know, maybe we can start figuring out, go back. over the
How
pods.
do we rate the best meal deal? Is it on how much you save? So we work out like how much it is per item and work out how much you save. Does that then make the best meal deal? Which is then Will
I don't know,
always
maybe
win.
we could do a poll or something at the end
A
of the
poll.
season.
But I noticed some Sainsbury's do Tyrell crisps in part of that meal deal now.
Ooh.
That's a game changer.
That's a high
you know.
quality crisp.
It is.
Good crunch.
Which is why we bring
Oh.
up this topic. You could have a whole podcast on
Yeah.
meal deals. It's fantastic.
Or a kettle chip. Oh, you can't be a good kettle chip.
Kettle chips are good.
Oh god, that's no, all the crisps. I love crisps. I'm such a
love
crisp.
crisps.
I'm such a crisp fiend. Oh god, I'll
You tried these
devour.
Watsits?
Oh, you got any quavers? Like backhanded deals in college. Quavers.
And just as well, we can recycle the crisp packets now as well. And
Yes, we
recycling bins
can.
around the college.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Look at the personal tutoring you come out.
it's all about the environment. So.
Absolutely. Anywho, Steve Cale,
Let's do it.
would you like some department news?
Yeah, roll
Of
that
course you
crazy
do.
intro.
Oh, my crazy intro. How long would you like the bed for this time?
I don't know. Let's just
Shall I
improvise,
just,
shall we?
Hit it.
We'll improv. All right. Now it's time for department news with Steve. Steve.
It's quite intense every time that plays because I always feel like it's going to be so much. There's so much more breaking news than there is to happen. But yeah, there's a lot happening on the YouTube channel this week. Before I go on to the other little bits and bobs, what new upload has come out? I'm looking at you, Will, because you were the one that uploaded it.
Yes. So I've just put a video up on mastering the timeline. We're doing this new series called Prem Professional. So if you haven't really tackled Prem before, or you're a student that's just getting used to the software, hopefully once you've watched this series in the playlist, you should just have a better understanding and be quite confident in terms of using it. Can
I just say,
Yeah,
great pun.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Just-
we
I
tried-
didn't
we
need
tried-
to get that
We
in
had to
there.
make it entertaining somewhere. Because the videos aren't. No, I'm joking. They're not bad.
Brutal. Our videos are great. They're lovely.
It's good. There's a lot of information, but I feel like every tip in this Master of a Timeline video should speed up your workflow. And even if you save a few seconds here or there over the course of, the 4 or 5 weeks you might be doing some coursework, when you're saving those seconds, it gives you more time to review your footage, gives you more time to start working on your evaluation. So hopefully saving those seconds using these techniques should help. So worth a watch.
It's been your first episode. The basics of Premiere Pro has gone down a storm so far.
Yeah.
It's been very, very handy. So
How many Prem Pro videos are there out so far? Is there
Currently
only
3.
2 or is it? Oh, 3?
Yeah, currently 3.
There's a syncing video that I did.
Ah, yes.
Which is out. Sadly, a bit late because obviously the media deadline's in
2 days.
well, in a day if you're listening to it on release day.
Oh, yes, that's
or
true.
it's out right now. It's the deadline's today if you're listening
Or it
to
was
this on
yesterday.
Friday.
What have you been doing? What have you done? Please contact your tutor immediately.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, so that's been happening. We've been actually really focusing on getting as many of them professional videos out. So nice one for that, Will. The film club escapade that's kind of going on at the moment. I think we've kind of gone with the idea of after the October half term, we're gonna go about restarting film club. I do believe, I'm not going to name names just yet, but there's going to be essentially a film club rep from each year who have already been identified. That bear in mind, if you are interested, do get in touch with one of us so we can let you know. And we're going to potentially run it once a month with a potential voting system to decide on what film. And then from there, I'm not sure if it was Dan or some students actually came up with the idea of potentially opening up either a segment for this podcast or opening up its own sort of podcast in its kind of own right, where there's like a circle of students where they can discuss that month's film, or potentially a film text where they can have their own kind of podcast of sorts, so they can kind of dive in, analyze a few critical approaches and bring their own thoughts to the table. So again, if this is something you're interested in, even if you don't want to potentially attend film club, but you want to have your say, maybe if you want to get into film reviews or any sort of text-based career in the film industry, it could be something that could help your CV and UCAS application. So get in contact with us from that. I'm going to put out a bit more stuff on the newsletter, which is a great segue because the newsletter this week, I think the film was Maleficent, if I said that correctly. Sadly, I haven't seen the first one, but the second one comes out on Friday, the 18th, I believe it releases. Another Disney film, which should be very nice. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the department news, to be honest with you. I guess everything else you'd need. TechNet Choice is surging again, which is great. It seems to be the F6 team that are really taking a charge on that.
I think you gave them quite a good pep talk.
Yeah, so the F6 guys are obviously in that bracket of elite in their technical assets. So I gave them a little challenge and said,
beat Addison.
Beat Addison, yeah, because we know who'll listen to this. So, not sorry, Addison, bless you. You will win again because you got some really good stuff. But some of the other stuff that's rolled through is some good graphic work. There's a couple of videos that have been put out from a bunch of different students. So keep an eye out, and there'll be a few more other winners, which would be really cool.
Cool.
So the competition for that Oscar at the end of the year is wide open.
Excellent.
Which is great.
It's no longer a 2-horse race.
It isn't. It's more of I think it's almost a double-digit race now from the amount of entries that are in there. So
sounds great.
Yeah, it's really, really good. So everything's going forward. I guess the only other thing to mention, because this is probably the last time we can mention it, is if there's any other people still available for the open days, if you can help out. I know there's a lot of people already helping out, but if you can help out for about an hour, jump on to the TechNet archive or head into your emails, and there'll be a form in there, which means you can, even if you help out for an hour, that'd be great up in the department.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think this is the last week we can kind of talk about that, can't we?
Yeah, because it's all open days next
week.
Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
So there probably won't be a podcast next Wednesday.
No.
Sad tears. Because we'll be busy talking to parents. Unless we do a live one, which could be quite interesting.
I'm not sure about that.
I think they might need the manpower, mightn't they? So
that's true. If imagine all of us in it. Sorry, we can't help you with anything. We're just doing a pod.
The projector's not working.
No,
sorry, podding.
Imagine that being interrupted mid-pod with an actual tech issue.
Yeah.
Answer it on the podcast. That'd be quite bizarre.
Great.
Yes, email us your tech queries and we'll see if we can answer them on air. I say on air.
But besides that, yeah, that's all that's really going on in the department. Shout out to all the second year media students. Your deadline is approaching, but get excited because, I've seen a lot of amazing work. Some amazing work.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, even we're thinking so early of the awards, and I think whoever's deciding categories for some of that media work is going to have a tough time because some of that stuff is awesome. So yeah, shout out to you guys, and once it's done, you can have a big sigh of relief. So yeah, that's all from me.
Nice, thanks, Steve.
Cool.
I've got nothing else to add.
No,
other than you might see a lot of posters changing in the next week with Open Day coming up.
Of course.
So look out for some more funky branding. Is what's probably going to litter the entire corridor within the coming days, most likely. That printer is going to get worked. Lots of ink. Anywho, Will,
let's do it.
You did. I didn't even say anything. You just.
I know it. Let's go.
Tech news.
Cool. Right. Well, welcome to my favourite segment of the week.
Mr. Biased over there.
So we roll into tech news. There's been quite a lot happening. As ever, the mobile phone industry is chugging along, and Google just held their big event where they not only talk about new phones, they also talk about a lot of new technology they're bringing to the market. First off, Google Pixel 4 over like the kind of general consensus is quite underwhelming. People are expecting a bit more. I think the triple camera from the iPhone 11 and the 11 Max has kind of blown people away at the moment, and Google seem to have dropped the wide angle lens. They've just gone for a sort of standard and a telephoto, but the response from Apple users is that the wide angle one's actually been incredible. So even though they've got the same sort of like cutout on the back, almost the same as an iPhone, they've chosen only to use 2 lenses. We'll see how that comes out, but the Pixel 3 and the 3A was known for having pretty much the best camera. So we'll see what reviewers and stuff come in at. They also announced the new generation of Pixel earbuds. So they're meant to rival the Apple AirPods. They come in a similar sort of case. They're all wireless in terms of like it charges whilst it's in the case. They've been linked up to Mentos, like the sweets. That's what people have been calling them. Literally like a white circle when you're in.
Toothbrush, electric toothbrush heads, and now Mentos.
Yes. They're not as bad looking as the Microsoft earphones. They were terrible.
I've not seen the Microsoft earphones. What food do they look like or thing?
A pizza. It's just a flat disc on your ears. They don't know what.
When you said pizza, I automatically thought like a slice, a triangle, in your ear.
No, it's just a round circle. There's no texture to it or anything. It's just flat.
Are we going back to back in like ye old days when Bluetooth was like the big thing and everyone had like those Bluetooth like headset things? Are we going back to that?
I don't know. This is like the little like power.
No. Like every like business person was like, "Hello, business,"
It does
and like
feel
tapping
like that
their
a
ears.
bit, but the Pixel Buds, they look quite nice. They're quite just fit in your ear quite nicely. But one of the main features that caught my eye is that they have live translation of other languages. So if somebody's talking to you in a foreign language, it will actually speak English into your ear as they're talking it.
That's ridiculous.
And that's just blown my mind.
That's actually ridiculous.
That's such a cool feature that can do that. And then, obviously you've got the Google Assistant, all the music and everything like that straight from your phone.
Now, Ross, sorry about bouncing off this. Now, you're Ross. You're an Apple fan, aren't you?
I am indeed.
I even have a sound effect for Apple fans. There you go. I haven't played that for ages.
Yeah, we haven't.
Okay.
Now, which iPhone do you have at the moment? Because I know you've basically had every single one.
I actually have the X, so I'm quite behind in the times, believe it or not, which I've actually really liked over the years. It's just been really convenient. I am intrigued, actually, from what you were saying earlier, Will, about the iPhone 11. So it's actually been quite popular then with...
Basically, YouTubers have kind of taken on this challenge on themselves to see what content they can produce on YouTube that their consumers don't realise that that's been filmed in the iPhone 11.
Right.
And some people have been filming on the front-facing 4K camera.
Yeah.
And they've made almost movies out of the quality that it's producing, yet alone the stuff that's on the back.
Oh, goodness.
So so the camera quality this year, the depth of field thing's still a bit lacking because of the sensor size, but the quality of the images and the night mode, there's all sorts of things they've actually caught up with now that they're giving their users.
That's great.
That seem to be justifying the price tag a bit more.
And in that sense, I mean, I don't know too much about the Pixel 4, but is that significantly cheper than the iPhone?
So the Pixel 4 comes in 695, I think it is. So it is, it's talking about 450 pounds cheaper than the iPhone. So you've got to start looking and thinking about the price, and I
suppose then that justifies the lack of the extra lens.
That's what you can say. So maybe it's a completely different market they're going for. I think in the Android world, that's quite a nice price point at the moment. Samsung's normally the Apple rival in terms of like their high-end product line.
Wasn't your Pixel 3 $399?
Yeah, and I got
3A,
and I got a free Chromebook with it.
Ditto.
Oh, wow.
That sounds quite pricey
amazing
for the Pixel 4, then, doesn't it?
Well, the Pixel 3 was the same price. So
because the 3A is like the kind of budget version, but still has.
Right.
Okay.
So the 4's like made of glass. It's got like a matte finish.
It's the kind of like premium version. Almost,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, although it's got quite a lot of bezels on still.
A lot of bezels.
Yeah, one thing I didn't like about the iPhone 11 Max, like sort of marketing,
Max Pro Plus.
if you go on their website, if you look at the 11, you can the wallpaper they use on the phone, it very clearly shows the notch on the top. The little bit.
No.
So but that's fine. It's got a notch. It's fine. You know what you're buying. When you look at the 11 Max, they use a black wallpaper with just a bit in the middle, and it looks like a borderless phone.
Oh,
it's quite a
cheeky.
So you could buy that phone very comfortably, thinking that there's no bezel, like there's no sort of notch on the top.
As soon as you turn it on with that Apple logo in the middle, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, so I think that was a bit of dodgy. I'm not too keen on Apple doing stuff like that. That's a bit sort of backhand. But keep an eye out. Whenever you see the 2 on a screen, even on the TV adverts and stuff, they definitely do it to make it look more premium. But it's little bits of marketing like that you think,
because I was going to hold off for the S. I was going to give it another year because I quite like the X as it
There's
is
not
at the
too
moment.
much difference in terms of like the operating system. Exactly the same.
Yeah, I was hoping for more difference. I have to say, in a way, I was disappointed, but the camera is amazing. There's no denying that. But I mean, you were talking also about the headphones, and for me, that the
AirPods,
toothbrush heads. I've never really done it for me.
Did you get them with your phone or not?
No, I got the ones
separate.
with the cables. So
has anyone ever used those earbud things?
Nope.
Never tried the
No.
AirPods.
Never had Bluetooth headphones like that.
I'm not a fan of wireless headphones anyway. I'm a very cable fan. Is me.
No, I've got the Bose Sport ones, and I find them really, really good.
I'd love them for like doing exercise.
Yeah,
because I've always found cables have been a huge
it can
inconvenience.
be really irritating
when I'm running. For sure.
Absolutely.
The wireless is definitely the way I go.
But the Bose Sport one's fantastic for running. So
for me,
I
for like day to
little
day.
shark fins. That kind of clip.
I've got the one with the slight cable around the back of the neck. But they're brilliant. Yeah, you mean the ones that go into your ear? Yeah, it was good, but I did a run the other day, the half marathon in Oxford, and it was waterlogged because of the torrential rain, and the water was getting in my ear, so it's like, but I think that would have been whatever headphones I was wearing anyway.
Yeah.
You know, it was just inevitable. But yeah, they're brilliant.
Were you running 100 meters in 17.2 seconds?
Not quite. Probably in about
I'd be like, whoa.
50 seconds. Yeah. No. I mean, what a phenomenal achievement that was the other day. Unbelievable. Yeah, great. Anyway,
Nice.
Yeah.
sorry.
So no, that's what,
I thought I'd get in with the, the king of Apple here.
Yeah.
So moving on, we've got a bit of gaming news. So Fortnite has been blasting all over the internet. It's been newspapers, web articles, TV. Essentially, they killed the game for 2 days. So on, I think it was a Sunday night, people were playing, and then all of a sudden things start happening in game. There's like meteors coming in the sky. And then essentially what happened was a black hole started in the game. Everything got sucked in. And then all players could see was just a black hole on their screen. You can't do anything. You can't press any buttons.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And
So what, when you load up the game, that's all you say?
as soon as you load up the game, it's just a black hole.
Nice.
And no one could play anything. There was like numbers appearing on the screen that related to different messages and stuff, but there was no game to play. People were getting quite angry because they'd spent, people have spent thousands on this game, on the skins and such that for the game, and the people they've bought for making funny videos like, I bought a £600 Xbox for this exclusive skin, I can't even play it anymore. But Epic stayed cool. They had a time they knew they were going to release it, so they weren't going to do anything. And yeah, people were going crazy. They was like coming up with all different sort of theories. And I think it was last night that actually went live, and they've called it Chapter 2. So it's almost like Fortnite 2, if you imagine it. So they've kind of reinvented the game a little bit, and they kind of used that as a shifting phase, I guess. So I believe there's like a new map and things like that. But as a PR stunt, textbook, isn't it, really? It's just like, it's a game that you think, most games like this have died out long ago. They last maybe a year or two.
They're kind of fake Fortnite.
Yeah. Or, it's just anything, any sort of phase of things like apps. Sometimes, Angry Birds has a huge phase, or like Flappy Bird, or all these sort of games have a huge phase and then they die out. But somehow they just manage to keep pumping more energy and more controversy and more people into it, and it just keeps growing. It's a bit scary, really. Like the amount Epic has grown. They're acquiring new companies now all the time, new games.
Wow.
It's just a compliment to them at the end of the day, because they had a rival. Well, they still do that Apex Legends game, which is, I don't play Fortnite, but it's not really my thing. Primarily because I'm not good at it and I can't build. But the difference is I think there was a stat where their competitor Apex Legends put out one update in 2 months, and in those 2 months, Fortnite had put out 10 updates. And if you're going to put out 10 updates, people are never going to get bored. There's always something new to come back to. It's the same with everything. It's like probably the same reason why things like Netflix and Amazon are always doing so well. Yes, they're bigger companies, but if there's always something new, something to come back to, etc., you're going to stay with it. Yeah. And I think it's a compliment to them as a game developer of being like, it doesn't get dull. Like that's why I'm not surprised. And the second they start falling off, which doesn't look like it's going to happen, is the day they start dying away. But they've had 10 seasons, and I think Apex Legends, which obviously has been out nowhere near as long, it's on season 3 maybe. So if you look at that comparison, that's 7 more seasons of content in a similar time frame, which is quite interesting.
I just almost had like a nice thought, like, oh, they've kind of stopped the game for a bit. Maybe all these people who have been kind of stuck in this world where haven't been going outside or been ignoring
I was thinking
stuff.
that. I was thinking, like, are they trying to tie in with Mental Health Day? Was it Britain's Got Talent did the other week where they just stopped? Did you see that? And they just said, everybody just stop what you're doing and talk. And it was just that sense of trying to get people to think about what's important in life, and maybe saying to gamers, maybe it's time to stop playing for a bit.
Hopefully, in those 2 days, somebody may have realised that, and then suddenly be like, you know what, actually, life without it for a bit it's okay.
Everything in moderation.
Exactly. So there's a bit of that. But it's all live again now and up and running. And obviously we're getting to that time of year where a lot of new games are destined to come out. Yes.
Ho ho ho.
Yeah. Sort of October, November, the seasons where they're dropping.
What games are on your Christmas wish lists?
Me? Ooh,
yeah.
Well, I have to say, Call of Duty wasn't my thing, but that new game does look quite good. But the big one for me is obviously Star Wars.
Of course,
Jedi Order, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Fallen
Oh,
Order,
that looks...
but
Yeah. Rich was showing me some cinematics from it. It's
It
just, like the
looks
opening
brilliant.
sequence was just unreal.
Does everyone have a specific game? If we went
Oh,
round
yeah,
the
I got
room?
one.
Oh, go on.
Mine's Need for Speed Heat.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That does look good.
Yeah, they've just released like the car list on it. So, for me, that it's going back to like the old days of like Need for Speed Underground, that sort of era, and I'm all for that.
Yes,
I
Underground
like
was a
car
great
games.
era. for
Big
Need for
fan,
Speed.
big fan
I
of
think
cars.
I know yours, James.
Can you predict it? Go on.
Pokemon Sword
Of course,
and Shield.
yeah. But that comes out in November, so I've already got it on
my one
pre-order.
comes out in November.
Oh, nice. What's yours?
Doom Eternal.
Ooh.
Been waiting a long time for
I
that
didn't
game.
realise that was coming out then.
Long time. Well,
Okay.
I think it's being released on Stadia, but I do believe there's other platforms it'll be released on. i.e., I'll get it on PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
But it's for context, it was like the first game my dad let me play when I was really young that was not allowed to play, and it was really good fun. So when
There you go.
the 2016 or 2015 Doom came out, it was an amazing experience. I absolutely loved it. The sound design, the game design was incredible. I've bought that game on 3 different platforms: PS4, PC, and Switch. Switch,
Nice.
very disappointing, but we won't get to that. And then I've just been slowly waiting for Doom Eternal, which should have come out, I believe, last September, but with delays and exclusive rights, it's been put off and off and off. So really looking forward to sitting down and playing.
You
that
mentioned
game.
Google Stadia as well. During Google's event, they kind of confirmed a few things. They said, have you seen this Google Stadia platform, Ross?
I haven't, no.
So essentially, it's just a controller. That's what they're selling to you,
Okay.
and you can use almost anything that can run Chrome as your console. So TVs, phones, tablets, laptops, anything with a screen and can run
Chromecast.
Chrome. Chromecasts, yeah. And the idea is that through a Wi-Fi connection, they're going to stream to you the performance of a console. So like I think the 2 games they put on there was Destiny, and I think Borderlands is coming, and Red Dead's going to be on there to start with.
Wow.
So say you're on the train, you get your phone out, you pop it up there, connect your Google controller, that grants you access to the library games, 4K, like 60 frames per second, all that sort of stuff. Anywhere you are. So that's the kind of idea they're trying to push out. I think it's going to be like a subscription service, so you're paying sort of like a monthly fee for it, and the controller to start with is £115, but you get like 6 months free subscription with that as well. So it's not too bad.
I think you get a Chromecast
and
Pro,
and like
I
a
didn't know there was a
4K
difference.
Chromecast.
That's
I
the
think
one,
you get
Wow.
So who knows? Like that, they were talking about PS5 announcements and things like that, but might not even need them if you just carry a controller in your back pocket, and that's your whole console there.
Yeah.
For someone like me who's like, I'm at a different house every night, whether I'm at my girlfriend's or my own, a service like this, if it was to be what it's on the box, so to speak, it'd be perfect, because I can't lug a PC or a PlayStation. Yes, I can take my Switch, but I'd prefer to play a game with a few more pixels than, i.e. Doom, ironically, that doesn't run very well on the Switch. So if it works, to be honest, I'd be a customer, but it's down to preference. Isn't it?
We'll see.
And backtracking about the Pokemon game, just
Yes.
because my little ones might want that for Christmas.
Yes.
When is it out?
It's November I'm going to say like 16th or 18th, frantically checks phone.
And does it work the same way as the other Pokemon games do? Or?
Yeah, so it's going, I think it's either Friday the 15th or Friday the 22nd of November it's out. Or it's like Monday the 18th. It's a weird day.
In that window.
It's somewhere in that window, mid-November. So instead of like the Pokemon Go, which was, let's use your Joy-Cons to like throw a ball at the screen, like actual, or Let's Go rather. Well, it's like Pokemon Go. This goes back to more like the classic, catch things like normal, battle things like normal, wander around a place, but it's on the Switch.
It's the equivalent of like Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue.
Yeah,
but
it's
of the
obviously
newer generation.
Yeah, obviously there's been a lot of uproar about it, but I can't bother getting into it because it's a load of faff.
I think the main thing is
there's not enough Pokemon in it. Oh,
yeah, it's the first Pokemon game made for Switch.
Yeah, it's the first main
line,
canon one on Switch, and but I'm looking at the really early graphics. I was like, 3DS looked a bit better. Then looking at the newer ones they released, I was just like, yes, they've made it look pretty now. So hype train is real.
It does look
is in my
great, to
way.
be fair. It's the reason I bought a Switch all those months ago, because I thought the price of a Switch would skyrocket around this time of year.
Yeah.
Hasn't yet, but the
It's
price...
kind of maintained the
Yeah,
same
which
price.
is-
isn't
it's
it?
just
You know,
Nintendo
that's what it is.
products,
Yeah,
isn't it?
They just don't drop, do
No.
they? Neither the games. They're just
Oh,
holding
their
the same
games
value,
are up,
aren't
don't
they?
they?
Although I'm looking at maybe getting Link's Awakening soon. That does look quite good. The kind of reboot of the original first Zelda game, which does look quite nice. Especially on Switch, because it's a bit more top-down view, so it looks more like classic. So yeah, I'm quite tempted to get that. That's otherwise nothing
Cool.
else gamey
Right on.
from me.
That wraps up tech news.
Sweet. Thanks. Cheers, Will. Nice. Coming up next is the old track of the week. I love my jazzy tunes. Now, because obviously we don't have a podcast next week, insert sad violins because we can. There you go. There it is. But that's all you're getting. It's sad, you know. So I thought I'd throw two in there, one for this week and one for next. I thought that seemed quite fair. But basically, I did the thing I always do, which is have a song ready to go, like on the Thursday, the day after we record it, and I was like, yes, this is going to be it. And then the following day, I found another song and went, oh my days, this is better. Oh, and then I have like a big sort of internal debate with myself of which one I should pick. So I said, screw it, let's have both, because why the hell not? So we got two tracks for you, two slightly different things. There's Zed's new one with a single called Kalani, called Good Thing. This would have been track of the week last week, but again, I had the same thing where I thought a song was better, so I thought I'd put that in. So it kind of feels a bit overdue to have this as the track. If you know Zed's music, it's kind of like dancey pop. This one is kind of like a slightly altered version. So normally he's a slightly more like kind of heavier, dancey, sort of a bit more house, borderline trance. Whereas this one's a bit more pop infused, with obviously the lead singer vocals going throughout the whole thing. But the video is really cool, so I recommend you go give that a watch. It's quite nice. The second song I stumbled across on, I think it was Friday or Saturday. I think I was sat in the office marking, obviously bland life that I lead.
On Saturday?
Not on Saturday, on Friday. If it was in Friday, I'd be in the office. I was marking away, and this song came up on my YouTube recommended. I was like, you know what? YouTube recommended sometimes does a good job. Click play. Listen to it, went, yes. Instantly bought the album. I was like, yes, please, I want this band. If I do that, I'm like, I can trust this band's good. So they're called The Japanese House, is the band. Ironically, no house music in sight. The song is called You Seemed So Happy, and there's a particular version online which is like a kind of live session with the three of them in just a white studio room. It's literally just the three of them, three instruments, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, a lady who doesn't really touch the piano that's in front of her, which I find hilarious because she just stands there and sings. It's like, do the piano, it's there. And it's the live session just sounds so crisp and good. And as soon as I heard it, I went, yes, please, I want more. So that's called The Japanese House, and You Seem So Happy. They're kind of, the actual proper sound of the song is kind of pop, but very chilled, very mellow. Think sort of like Echo Smith, if you remember them from a few years ago, but with just three members in the band, not five. And just, female vocals. Less poppy, bit more chilled. But yeah, those are the two tracks for this week.
Nice.
So Zed and Kalani, Good Thing, and The Japanese House, You Seem So Happy, the live one. I'll put the links to those in the YouTube description and in SoundCloud, and you should be able to see them on Spotify and Apple Podcasts too. Winner. Otherwise, if you go in the edit suite, probably tomorrow, today, you'll hear me playing these songs because they're just on my playlist at the moment. Yeah, do recommend.
Cool.
But yeah, that's track of the week. Otherwise, to round off the episode, as per usual, let's have a bit of what have we been watching? Now, Ross.
Nice.
Now, Ross, I do hear that you have a rant inbound.
Oh God, brace yourselves.
Oh God,
Okay.
I feel like I need like a warning sign, but I've only got like a
need a
spoil.
warning
I've only
sign.
got like a rant inbound. Ross,
There's
close.
so much heritage in this, isn't there?
It is.
And let's see what Ross has got to say.
Ross,
Well-
the question is, what have you been watching?
Well, sadly, there's an hour and a half of my life I'm never going to get back with Rambo: Last Blood, directed by Adrian Gromberg, and of course starring Sylvester Stallone as the Vietnam vet John Rambo. It's always a worry when the original writer of Rambo, David Morrell, wants to disown this film,
Oh.
saying it's a mess. I'm ashamed to be associated with it. Waterworld is a masterpiece in comparison. That's a bit of a that's a bit of a worry, isn't it?
I love how you've had to write this down because it's just such a good quote.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Commode quoted, "It's meat-headed nonsense" as well. So I couldn't agree more with them.
Wow.
Really.
Would you say it's more on par with like the Expendables than?
Do you know what?
Previous
I have a
Rambos.
soft spot for the Expendables because they were fresh. It was not hiding behind what it was.
Yeah.
But this has got a legacy. It's got a story behind it. And actually, the first couple of Rambos, you feel for him. You know, and particularly the first film, it's quite sad and emotional the way he's mistreated, and you know, it's a very, very moving film. And you know, Sylvester Stallone's brilliant in it. But this, it just completely forgets everything about who he is and what is. They attempt to start it that way about post-traumatic stress. I mean, for those who don't know, he's on a ranch, on his old father's ranch, raising horses, and he's got a tunnel or a maze of tunnels underneath the ranch where he's clearly conveniently got weaponry down there just in case, but he's secluded, and you feel for him. He's obviously damaged, so they were building on that, and it starts off in a way you think, oh, this could be quite promising. And then he sort of befriended a sort of an older lady, and she has a granddaughter who's living with them on this ranch. And John Rambo is almost like a surrogate father to this young girl, looking after her. And then one day she finds out that her biological father is in Mexico and wants to go out and sees him. But John Rambo says, no, you know, he's an evil piece of work. Don't go and see him. You can see where this is going. She decides to go and see him and is kidnapped by the Mexican cartel. I won't give away too much, but there's not much really to give away.
Is it very hand-holdy, this narrative?
Yeah. Well, needless to say, he goes after her and it all sort of goes from there.
Oh no.
But it's this, and you've probably heard about it in the media, this sort of mistreatment of the Mexicans in the film. It's so pro-Trumpian in the way that it kind of uses xenophobia, you know, one-dimensional villainous characters that really serve no purpose or have no humanity to them whatsoever.
Sounds like a bit of a money grab.
It is, and it seemed like they had an idea of what they wanted to do in the final act, and I'm sure you've all heard of it and you've seen it in the trailer. You know, the tunnels, hint, hint. It becomes like Home Alone, a violent, very violent Home Alone, as many have said, a Home Alone, but without the wit, without the entertainment, and it,
what a shame.
you know, gratuitous in its violence. It almost becomes so laughable because it is so sickeningly violent. But it just doesn't work. It's clumsily directed. It doesn't hold together, and it just completely detaches from the John Rambo that we would have loved in the past. So it's very saddening to see. I mean, Sylvester Stallone said this would be the last one he did, hence Last Blood, but he's now open to others moving forward. But I kind of feel like it's put the nail in the coffin, this film. It's a bitter disappointment. So avoid, I would say.
As customary, what would you give it out of 10?
Ooh, 3. I think it starts well, and there's some good potential in there, but
That's brutal.
It's really
That is
disappointing.
low reviews.
But then some people are loving it. They're going in and they're just going with the ride and enjoying the violence and the essence of Rambo Unleashed, really, that comes with the final act.
Yeah.
But it's just,
I think when you have a franchised film, you're not just so you can view it on just a single film basis.
yeah.
But a lot of people are taking in historical sort of feelings and emotions into that screening.
Yeah, and many are saying it's badly timed. If this film came out before the wake of Donald Trump, when it was originally intended, it probably would have served better with the audience. But in light of what's going on at the moment, particularly with the wall and everything, it seems just so misjudged, mistimed, and really racist, really. Whether it's intentional or not, who knows? But it's just poorly timed, and it just doesn't work. So yeah, I'm afraid a bitter disappointment.
Oh.
Ouch.
Is there anything else you've been watching to maybe lift yourself back up, Ross?
On the other hand, the complete opposite is Joker. And I know 3 of us in this room have seen it. One of you has not.
Yes, look at me. It's fine.
Everybody leave the room, but...
oh, God.
No, it was brilliant.
For me. Thanks. Yep, carry on.
Okay, well, where do we go? I know, guys, you've seen it as well, Stephen, Will.
Should I just take my headphones off?
No, sorry.
No.
It's fine. Go for it.
No,
go for it.
it's a brilliant film. I mean, some people have got issues with it and its violence. I didn't particularly think it was that violent. I mean, it deals with disturbing nature with the way that he gradually turns, but that you can expect, with the character.
I think just from the fact of it's a DC film,
Yeah.
but without the obviously the superheroes, the super villains, essentially at the moment. You look at something like Deadpool.
Yeah.
And there was no uproar. People just laughed, didn't they?
Because they accept it at face value for what he is and what he does. Yeah.
And because this is just hitting closer to home, because they've just changed the complete dynamic and how they approach characters, I think, haven't they?
Yeah,
for this film. And they've made that under the performance and the script and just the narrative just engross the audience to a point. Steve made a point, which I'm sure he'll touch on in a bit, where you feel like you're not watching a DC film at all.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, my friend who I went with, he's very much into film as well. He was saying fair play to DC for allowing this, because it's so different from what we've seen before. But I mean, the big thing I think to take from this is to treat it as it is, as a standalone. If you start getting into the Batman mythology and start thinking, well, how does that tie in with it? It's not meant to. You've just got to treat it as it is and go in and go with the ride. Maybe even forget everything you know about Batman and Joker and just enjoy it for what it is. And I think it's a brilliant film.
Yeah.
Really
Sadly, Warner Brothers haven't really done themselves many favours with Birds of Prey being on the horizon, have they? Because that's going to confuse people.
It is a mess at the moment, isn't it? But there is talks of the Robert Pattinson Batman film potentially linking in with this world that they've just created. But you're right, the Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman, they're all tied into the previous franchises. So they're in a bit of trouble there. And
I feel like they almost needed to do what Marvel have done and phased it off.
Yeah, and started again.
It's so clear to their audience now. They've branded it, didn't they? They said this is our first phase, this is our plan moving forward. Yeah. Whereas DC, they need that chopping point, I think, now.
But the thing is, they've got aspects that have worked, certainly worked with audiences, like to an extent. I've not seen it, but Aquaman, that seems to have gone down well with the audiences. Wonder Woman's clearly gone down well, and I really do like Wonder Woman, actually.
Me too.
But of course, Justice League was a disaster, and
very naff.
And Suicide Squad, even though it did pick up an Oscar, but that's a whole other kettle. Jared Leto wasn't too happy about the Joker, was he? He voiced his opinions.
But yeah, I mean, but this film is smart, it's clever. Who would have thought Todd Phillips could have achieved what he does with this, from the Hangover films? But then again, he's grown quite bitter to work towards the way that comedy has been treated over the years, and sort of thought he could make a film that kind of treats a character that thinks things are funny that aren't, and it's very clever the way that they've handled it. I mean, again, not too much of a spoiler, but he has a condition that he's laughing awkwardly at times he shouldn't be, and that's to show people a card, and it's actually, you feel for him. I certainly felt for him. I mean, you've seen it in the trailer where he's just laughing and he's putting a smile to a young boy, and the mum pulls the boy away. What you don't see in that part of the clip is when he shows the lady the card. And all of a sudden it just adds so much depth to him, and you really do feel for him and how he's trying, but he just can't fit in.
I think that's an amazing point you say about you really start to feel for him, because you start to really sympathize with him as a character. So then when a scene like, again, it's not a spoiler for those who've seen it, will understand, the hospital scene happens, indeed. you feel the same fear and anxiety he does when the incident in that scene happens, and because it's so raw and it's not like a superhero film where the law is not as important, you worry about his place in society because of that incident. And that's the part that I thought was incredible, because there were such subtle moments where it could have been so much more hyperbolic because it's a DC superhero film, but it's not. It's subtle, and it's like the repercussions of that are so insane, and you realise that in a matter of, a second, essentially, which was incredible. But what Will was going to say is what I said last week is, I enjoy superhero films. I'm not, bound to them like intensely, but I know the world. I know it quite well. But it actually took me about 10 minutes after seeing I'm not going to spoil anything as well, but the Batman references to be like, oh my God, it's a Batman reference. And I'm just like, why? And I thought to myself, why did I think that? And I think it was because it's such an interesting character study, just injected into that universe, that it becomes almost irrelevant for Arthur as a character, and it just almost adds to it. And I thought that was an incredible touch, because I was so focused on Arthur and his journey that the Batman references, like a little light went on a little bit later, and I was like, oh, of course. It was more, I was like, oh, I recognise that name. Oh my god! Oh yes, of course. And it's really interesting, really, really interesting.
Well, it's interesting you also mentioned about the hospital scene, because I was talking to another colleague in the college that enjoyed it, and we were talking about that scene, and I kind of misread it. And again, I can't say anything, I don't want to spoil, but for those of you that have seen it or are going to see it, I think it can be read in multiple ways about what they're getting to in that hospital scene, if you know where I'm coming from. And it really does stay with you. For me, it's one of those films that I keep thinking about this year, and I think it was brilliant. Really, really well done. So highly recommended.
Out of 10.
10?
I'd
say 10. I would give it a 10.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, we haven't even talked about Joaquin Phoenix's performance.
Just some points, you're kind of staring at the screen like.
Yeah,
I really didn't want it to end.
It's hard hitting.
No,
as bad as it sounds, I wanted to keep
seeing
seeing that descent go on and on and on, which is crazy to say. It's kind of bad to say, but that's kind of why it exists essentially.
And what actually gave a really nice perspective to was kind of, like in the video games and stuff like that, Joker always has like an army, doesn't he? I won't say any more, but you can suddenly think that makes sense. Yeah, I can get that now.
But that's where a lot of the criticism has come. And again, this isn't spoiling, but people that have seen it, that have complained about it and maybe have knocked off a star or two in their marking, said we wanted to see more of Joker and his masterminded sort of wit that he goes about that we've seen. And this is why we say treated it as a standalone. This is Joker Begins.
That's it.
This is what could happen. Like you're saying, Will, that army could become part of his master plan. And he's clearly changing as an individual anyway. Yeah. Never intending to be that way. Which again makes it really interesting to watch.
I think the way when you say it, it's a real shame that people do look at it that way, because if you look at the arc of the film and his behaviour in the first 20 minutes to the last 20 minutes, you should be smart enough to put two and two together and think, well, what was going to happen in another 2 hours of what would be screen time, of how far that descent would go. And I know what you mean. It is a shame that people were like, I want to see this and that, and bazookas with like smiley faces on them and stuff. It's like,
but that's what people go in expecting, and there's always a danger with that. But this film is almost, it has a lot to say. What would happen if you throw Joker into our society, as opposed to Jack Nicholson? What would happen if you throw someone into acid? And then they become that Joker. But this I think is a warning, about these people that exist, and if they're not helped, what could happen? A lot of people make references to, of course, Scorsese's Taxi Driver and the King of Comedy and what have you in that sense. But I thought it was really well handled.
I think the only closing thing I've read about it that I disagree with a lot of things in the media of how people say it glamorizes mental health, etc. But I think people need to understand it is a work of fiction, and in the real world, when, again, not trying to spoil anything, some of the reactions that happen in the film by the general public, by some people's actions, are not what would happen in real life, and people that should go in and understand it to be fictional know that won't happen. I can't really say much about what part I'm talking about, but some things happen. Some things happen, and the reaction that the public treat it as, I can see why people want to write a story and make a quick buck being on top of the headlines by saying, well, that glamorizes it. That means people are going to do these things and act in a certain way. It's like, well, no, this is Gotham City. It's not a real place. It's a fictional place based on a fictional story, and people have to see it as that. It's more of a compliment than it is. They've made it so raw, which is, hats off to them, really.
I mean, the other controversy, of course, is the choice of track, the Gary Glitter Rock and Roll Part 2, after his transformation, which you see in the trailer where he's jumping down the steps. But there's been something in the media about the last few days that Gary Glitter will not, for those who don't know, Gary Glitter is a convicted paedophile, but he will not be getting the royalties for that track. But even still, if we think about it deeply, about the track and what it adds to him at that point, it can be quite meaningful. Interesting, but there's a lot of controversy surrounding that as well.
Quite an iconic scene, really, wasn't it?
Have you seen anything else, Ross?
Yes, there's the new Breaking Bad movie, El Camino. Again, don't want to go into spoiler grounds here, but if you love Breaking Bad, you're going to love this. It is basically continuing on straight after the final episode of season 5, where Jesse Pinkman drives off. We don't know what happened to him, and this kind of reflects on that. They do have a lot of flashbacks, so you do get to see more about what happened with Jesse when he's in his captivity in season 5.
Oh, that's good.
And there's a lot of surprises in there. I won't say any more, cannot spoil it for the life of me. I mean, some people have complained online, oh, it's not cinematic and all that, but I mean, for one thing, let's just not hide behind the fact this is directed by Vince Gilligan, the brainchild behind Breaking Bad, and it is cinematic in its start. It looks beautiful, and the performances are brilliant, and it really is an extended episode of Breaking Bad. It's tense at times, but it works so well, and it is definitely worth viewing. So if you loved Breaking Bad, just go and watch it. It is brilliant. But if you haven't seen Breaking Bad, don't watch it, because you really don't know what you're
that is
missing.
dropping yourself in it.
Absolutely. But it does depend on you. And I would advise, if you're going to see it and you've had a gap between watching Breaking Bad, it would probably be a good idea to look at some of the catch-up clips. I think Total Film were running a little link about what happened, all the roundups of the seasons to remember. That helps with the film. I mean, on YouTube they have season recaps as well with the actual actors from it. So definitely worth checking that out before you go to it, but highly recommended.
Out of 10?
That's a good question. I don't know. I am 9 out of 10. I don't even know why I'm deducting a star, actually. I can't say that.
It's the Ross penalty.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. It's really enjoyable, so go watch and enjoy. You love Breaking Bad, you're going to love it.
Nice. Anything else to add to your list?
It's
ever growing.
Is it just films we're talking about now, or are we moving on to other things? Really?
I mean, have you two seen any films? I've not. I've been really bad.
You have, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh, Ready or Not. Absolutely amazing.
Which one's Ready or Not? Remind me.
So the premise is there's this family that's made their millions from selling board games, and there's this ancient tradition that's running in their family all the time, that whenever somebody's married into the family, at midnight on that night, they have to select a card from this box. So they put a blank card in, it stamps it, and it comes out with the name of a game. And the only rule is that you have to play the game. So it could be like chess, drafts, Monopoly, something like that.
I mean, that would end the marriage immediately. But yeah.
And the only rule is they have to play the game. Apart from this one card, where if you draw it, you have to survive the whole family from killing you until dawn, and that's hide and seek. And obviously, that's the whole premise of the film. So she obviously, it's not a spoiler or anything. It's in the trailer, and the whole idea that she draws the hide and seek card. She's completely unaware that this is even a thing. She's just been told to draw it. She draws the card. The whole family, her husband, newlywed husband, kind of looks in horror as he now knows that his wife is virtually dead. So then it turns into a mansion. Slaughterhouse.
Can she leave the mansion, or does she have to stay in the grounds?
I'm not going to say.
Oh, see, immediately I'd leg it.
There's a whole phase of things, but it's labelled as like a horror, but the thing that the genre that comes before it is a comedy.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds more of a comical.
It's hilarious. There are very tense moments, and there's moments that make you grit your teeth.
Yeah.
But the comedic value in it was hilarious, and we watched it as a double bill on the Saturday. We watched Joker in the morning, and then we watched Ready or Not, and it was incredible. Like I enjoyed. I had got almost as much fun and entertainment out of that as I did from Joker.
Yeah.
So I'd give it a 9.
Ooh,
really?
Wow.
Yeah.
High praise.
Performances, amazing, really good.
I mean, I've heard the violence, although it can be, it's an 18 certificate, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
but the violence is okay. It's a satisfying form of violence, unlike Rambo, where it's just like, oh, really?
Another headshot.
If you can, I'd say avoid the trailer.
Oh,
okay.
I've not seen it.
Yeah,
I'm trailer free.
It's one of those ones that it doesn't give away too much, but there's a lot. I didn't watch the trailer prior. When Steve watched it, I thought there's a few moments in there which had really good shock value in the film. So if it's that's the premise: hide and seek in a mansion. You're trying to be killed. That's all you need to know, really.
My biggest complaint is, this sounds like you said to me, it's like it's a perfect film for someone like me, because I love my horror films. Okay, my biggest complaint is I want to go to the cinema and see it, but I don't want to go and see like a 9:30, 9:45 screening, which are the only ones available now.
I guess because it's an
like,
18, they put it on a bit
It's
later.
just such a shame. If it was an 8 o'clock showing, I'd be over the moon. I would have been there tonight, but it's just like I can't afford to be out until midnight, 12:30 at night because of a 10 o'clock showing. Because obviously, usually it's half an hour after adverts, the actual film starts, so you won't get out until midnight. It's just
then you've got work in the morning.
It's such a shame. So I really want to see it, but I can't justify heading out that late past my bedtime.
Well, let's find a time. I'll join you.
Honestly,
I really want to see it.
If you get the chance, you will just get a bag of popcorn, chill out,
Really
and
wanna
just keep your eyes open. There's nothing to be scared of, and enjoy.
Yeah. Okay. So
Nice. Any other films people have seen? Steve, have you seen any films? Or are you all TV?
Mine's mostly TV this week.
Okay.
Or shall we move to right? I've noticed there's a growing trend of The Apprentice that we've all seen.
Oh yes.
I finally caught up over the weekend.
I've seen episode 1.
Will hasn't seen episode 2.
So we can't go into spoiler territory.
Savage.
Oh no.
Apologies.
Oh, God.
Apologies.
Oh, Will.
Just finding the time to get to watch stuff nowadays.
That's the best you're gonna get, I think, for
Okay.
copyright. But yeah,
So what?
Apprentice. What do we think? We can obviously do the season opener, episode 1, where they go all the way down to CF Africa.
That was brilliant.
And do a really crap safari.
I'm looking
Or
for
a really awful wine tour.
Oh, look at those elephants. They're not elephants. They're rhinos.
I mean, that was hilarious.
No.
Like honest, like the guys who were selling the safari were, I think, the worst salesman I think I've ever witnessed in my life.
Awful. It was cringe.
Oh mate, yeah, you need this, yeah. I don't know who he is. Who sells
that
like
would
pillars
be,
or whatever his name
Well,
is.
as Rob calls him, Biff Tennant from
Biff.
Back to
Oh
the
my god, he
Future.
is Biff, isn't he?
It's Thomas Skinner.
Thomas Skinner.
Yeah.
He's literally like, I'm from the East End of London, apples and pears. I'm not a fan.
I thought
be
for
fair,
an
though-
opener, it was great.
Yeah.
Oh
it
yeah,
was.
no, it's an opening episode, brilliant.
I mean, the scale of the episode as well. Actually, they've really put everything into it, and they are an interesting bunch. Actually, I mean, obviously it's for the cringe value. It's what The Apprentice is at this stage. And the girls always talking over one another, and the guys.
What was her
getting
name?
hit.
Who was the wine girl who just wouldn't shut his?
Lottie
great.
Lyon.
She is
The
great.
librarian.
She is just
Yeah.
such.
She
Oh,
is a
yeah,
match in a
yeah.
petrol station, and I love it. She's so entertaining.
Well, no, I prefer the Shiraz because it tastes a bit sharper. But it's just like, all right.
The thing is, though, the show depends on these characters.
Oh, yeah,
so
100%.
Lottie
It wouldn't work.
and what's his name, Biff, Thomas Skinner. I reckon they're going to go quite the distance because of that.
Yeah.
And of course, we got Ryan Mark.
As I call him, T-Rex boy.
Or Michael McIntyre.
Yeah,
as
have
well,
you not
referring
noticed
to
his
him.
arms are always up like a T-Rex? Like he's like if you watch him, his arms are always sat like this, and he's like got his like imagine your arms in a V shape like a T-Rex, and his hands just sit there and occasionally points. Then he always has like a very flamboyant scarf.
Yeah.
I'm
he's-
like, oh god.
Oh, Will, you need to
rubbish.
watch episode 2.
I'm
It's
getting
quite
on
an
it,
interesting
don't
one. You're going to watch it before episode 3
I'm gonna watch it tonight,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, double bill.
Yeah.
Double
billage.
bill over
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
I just can't wrap my head around where Lottie would how her personality and the occupation of a librarian mesh.
No, it does
I've
make you
never
wonder.
been able to figure that out because
No.
most of the time they're very calm, very patient, very mellow, almost muted. Because in a situation, in a occupation like that, you have to be quiet.
Well, apparently she has a spa business as well. They're not really talking about that on the show,
Interesting.
but that's what I've heard through the grapevine.
Please can we put Biff and her in the same team? Because I'm sure with they'll mix it up at some
they will,
point
yeah.
soon.
Within the third or fourth week,
Yeah.
they start to jump people over into other teams.
I would
so,
love to see Biff and her together as like
Yeah.
a sales team. They would just not shut up. It would be brilliant.
But Will, last week, do you know the task? It's
Yeah,
about
I saw the
designing
preview.
lollies.
Yeah, the
and,
lolly. I've
what
heard
do
some.
they
I've
call,
heard some things.
Premium lollies.
Yeah.
And the,
Absolutely.
the premium mini milk is a lot to be desired. Let's just say that now.
That's a great way of putting it, Ross. To keep
well,
it
it wasn't me.
PG.
I have to admit, I pilfed that from Rob, but it was
God.
very, very good.
Premium mini milk.
Yeah, enjoy.
Oh crikey!
Well, we can't really talk about who we think is going to get fired
No,
tonight
'cause
I
otherwise
might
it'll give it
reveal
away.
who went last week.
Apologies.
So
Maybe we'll
to be
never see
continued.
Biff and Lottie together.
Yeah,
No one knows.
yeah.
Could have already gone.
Well, we will see.
Oh god! But yeah,
Okay.
what else have people been watching TV
The
wise?
Circle. Is anyone watching The Circle?
My parents have been watching that, and they
My
can't
mum's been
recommend
Really
watching
it.
good.
it. Yeah.
really good.
I've not.
BBC, is it? Or
No, Channel 4.
Oh, Channel 4.
Yeah. So, do you know the premise of the show? Or
No.
well, it's basically this sort of social media nature, and they have 8 contestants, I think it is, all in different apartment blocks, all in what they call the circle. And they're to communicate with each other only via the television, which is basically text but speaking out loud. So they might say blah blah blah, send a certain emoji, hashtag or whatever, and then they choose who they might want to talk with within the circle. And it's basically a popularity contest. So at the end of 3 or 4 days, they all need to rank each other where they are. And some of them are pretending to be someone else. They're catfishing. So they've got to try and guess whether the person is who they're pretending to be in their image profile. And you see it sometimes that they're constructing to be someone else. And the show began with, what's his name? Richard and Judy.
Richard Madeley.
Richard Madeley. And
Love
he was
Richard
pretending
Madeley.
to be Judy, a young 27-year-old. And so they were getting him to do things, and he was trying to get into the persona of this 27-year-old.
Because he's got
girl.
a daughter, so
Yeah,
that could
absolutely.
probably work quite well for him.
And he was talking for it, and he was fantastic. He was such great entertainment in there, and the way that they were all interacting with him. But eventually he had to go because he wasn't in for the £100,000 prize that all the other contestants in. He was just in for the fun of it all. And so as part of the game, he had to basically devastate. He had to basically derail himself as a character to be voted out by the group. And if he did, one of them, he could grant immunity from being voted down. And when they're voted off, they get to choose who the person's room they want to go in and meet them in person. And so that's when they can find out whether they were catfishing or not.
Oh, right.
But it's getting near the final. That's on Friday. Just watch it for the next few nights. It's definitely worth watching. But one of them in there, Sammy, and it's a guy, but he's pretending to be a mother with a young child. And the child's not in the room, but she has been separated from them, and he's playing on that. And his premise for doing it was because his mum was a single mum, and he's trying to get in the mindset of her playing that role and playing on the sympathy strings. But at the moment, he's basically created a revolution in there, and he's trying to sort of sideline some of the other characters or people in the building. And one of them is Woody, and he's not revealed to anybody who he is yet, but he's Zoe Ball and Fatboy Slim's son. And none of them know that, and he's holding back on that. But he's trying to be himself, and he wants to be recognised for who he is.
Well, that's interesting.
But Sammy thinks Woody is being too much, quote, a brown nose to the others, and so Woody could jeopardise his chances of winning. So he's trying to get the others to sort of sideline Woody.
Gosh,
and he got the revolution going on. So, I mean, long story short, it's really fascinating. It's kind of psychological when you try to think about the way that people work behind texts. I've been addicted,
cool.
so
Yeah.
I would recommend it.
It sounds like, from just what you're saying, it's like an entertaining way to bring up awareness of social media identity.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds really,
it
really
is.
good.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
a light-hearted way to go about people being like, keep an eye on who you're chatting to
Yeah,
online,
exactly,
which is really
and how
nice.
destructive it can be.
Yeah, that's really, really
absolutely.
smart, actually.
But very funny as well.
Yeah,
at times.
awesome.
Nice.
Right.
Anyone else been watching anything?
I've been watching something. Well, I stumbled across something from not watching, so I'll cover it quickly, as I know we've gone on for quite a while.
Yeah, sorry.
I was.
It's fine. We don't have a
as long as
podcast
we're-
next week.
as long
We'll
as we're in no
leak
rush.
in.
Basically, I was sitting watching some NFL highlights, as I like to do
Oh.
on my Monday night, and
Steve
Jade,
Kells.
my girlfriend, starts
thing
saying,
to
"Oh,
do.
do you mind if I pop this on telly?" I was like, "Yeah, go for it." And it's a YouTube series from a YouTuber called Shane Dawson, if you recognise
Yes,
that
I know
name.
Shane Dawson. Yeah.
And I've known the name, not really been all that familiar with his content. And this title sequence started like it was a normal TV show. And I was like, okay, and watched it out the corner of my eye. And basically, it's covering this makeup giant, you could argue, called Jeffree Star, which has started a company called Jeffree Star Cosmetics. And Shane Dawson, I believe they're friends. They've done a documentary before, kind of going into the life of them. But this one is, you could argue, from our perspective as an audience, we're a fly on the wall, and Shane basically plays the performative role in a documentary and goes into Jeffree's empire and kind of not exposes it, so to speak, but kind of shows the process of building a makeup brand and a collaboration, which is something I have no interest in whatsoever. But the amount of, you could argue, reality factor that was in it, it's actually really quite gripping. And from the sounds of it, the guy who films it, his name unfortunately forgotten. For those of you who've watched it, you'll know the guy who films it all seems to, from what I can gather, edit it as well. And he's a really strong editor because he edits very when it's not chronological. What would you call it?
Out of sequence.
What? Sorry,
Non-linear.
Non-linear. That's it.
Yeah.
So he will. They'll have a conversation, and then they'll cut to that scene, and they'll foreshadow it in a really interesting way that you constantly keep on watching. So it's really, really gripping, and it would and should actually get a bit more exposure. Unfortunately, it's in that kind of arguable quote-unquote catty world of makeup, sadly, because as an actual piece of media text, it's actually really quite impressive, which is why it made me put my phone down and watch it along with her. And I'm actually looking forward to the next couple of episodes. I believe there's 3 out at the moment, but it's all to do with the controversy in this makeup world and brands kind of undermining big names to make more money, and it's a big business kind of scandal, which is the side I find interesting. And this, I believe, it's called a palette or something, is being released by Shane, who is a big name in the social media community, who's linking with this also big YouTube star who's a makeup giant. And I believe from where it's going, from what Jade said is going to happen, is they'll release this this package or whatever they call it, this collaboration at the end of the documentary, which is obviously going to make them millions and millions. But it's a really interesting performative kind of documentary style, but I never thought I'd ever stumble across. I was actually really quite impressed of it. Okay. Yeah, very something out of my thing. But yeah, if you know Shane Dawson, have a little look. It's not something you'd necessarily ever go out of your way to watch, but for somebody who loves that world, she's a makeup artist herself, she loves all that kind of stuff, and she likes the reality factor of that kind of I'm better than you, oh this person said this. If you can put that bit to the side, it's really quite gripping actually. Cool. As a documentary, I'd only give it something like a 6 or a 7, but the reason I think I've brought it up is I think it's really starting to show a glimmer of hope for like the internet content in regards to YouTube and where it's going, because these are hour-long episodes on what is a individual's YouTube channel, which is bringing in, I believe it's maybe 15 to 20 million views a video, which is ridiculous.
That's a really good return.
And it's just it makes you think of what the next 5 years is really going to hold for, well, I love documentary, like my favourite documentary series is Last Chance U, which is very observational. I find it very impressive. So these kind of documentaries where it's a character study, I find it really interesting. So that's what I've been watching. So for those of you who do listen, you've heard of it, if it's bit outside of the box and makeup isn't your thing, don't watch it for that. Watch it for a bit of a kind of what YouTube's doing for documentary filmmaking. It's actually going in an interesting direction. But there's a lot of controversies and stuff in there that are worth checking out. As I said, only give it like a 6 or a 7, but paints an interesting picture of what's coming in the future for I was going to be really rude there and say real filmmaking, but it's definitely going down that path, and there's a lot more production value kind of going there. So, yeah, props to them for that. It was my surprise of the week, if you want to call it that. Surprise content of the week.
Steve's surprise of the week.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking forward to the next episode, so I think I could leave that with you. So, there you go.
Solid.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I've Grey's Anatomy's back. I'm satisfied, medical drama-wise.
Is it a rerun or brand new?
Oh, no, season 16.
Oh, right. Oh,
yeah, it's now the longest running medical drama, other than like something like Casualty. But
well, did it take a big break or anything? I thought it finished years ago.
No. It's been going every year for 16 years, Ross.
Shame on me. Shame.
Shame. We need that as a sound. Otherwise, that's back. So I'm satisfied with my life. All the DC TV shows are coming back. So like Flash, Arrow, last season of that, all that kind of jazz. Which the kind of, as I call it, the naff rubbish I watch, but I still keep watching. Otherwise, I've been down on the films recently. It's disappointed me. I need to avert that over reading week and sort my life out.
Absolutely, enjoy and relax.
But otherwise, I think that's pretty much it for the old pod, I think.
Well, the one thing is, we talked about sporting games. This is the big thing. The new Rise of Skywalker trailer is coming. When is the question? But they predict Monday it's going to land with a big game. I assume you know the big game on Monday.
On Monday? There's a game. What sport?
It's an American football game, I think.
Oh,
Monday
normally when they release the big trailer.
Well,
They say there's a big one coming.
the
so
Patriots play the Jets in New York
that rings a
on
bell.
Monday night, so that would make
is
sense.
likely to be when it lands.
Because that is the
so-
Monday Night Football.
Yes, they do play. That'd be about 1:30 in the morning our time. So.
Ross will be up.
Well, if it's for the trailer, of course I will.
Ross Star Wars Sarginson.
Yes. Oh dear. Yeah. Got
Exciting.
I'm teaching the next day, but yeah, no, it'd be good. It'd be worth it.
But Ross, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Oh,
you
it's
for
been
having me.
amazing.
It's been,
Pleasure.
yeah, it's been
Lovely.
really good. I really enjoyed
The
it.
film reviews were
Oh,
incredible.
We might as well just call
wow.
this
Enjoyed
the film pod.
Yeah.
But yeah, always welcome.
Thank
Ross.
you. No,
Always
it's been-
welcome.
It's been a pleasure to be here.
We'll see if anyone else can come on and give us more reviews. Dan McGrath.
Well, it's a Jedi mind trick on it.
Yes, Ross, do your thing.
I've done it over the mic. Dan will be with us soon.
Otherwise, thank you very much for listening to the Where's My Kit Bag podcast. It's goodbye from me, James.
Goodbye from me, Will.
Goodbye from me, Steve.
And goodbye from me, Ross.
We will see you after Reading Week with some more Where's My Kit Bag podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Where's My Kit Bag podcast. Please feel free to drop us a comment about anything you want us to cover in the section below, or hit us up on Instagram or Twitter at F6 Media Film.